Hello, this is Seth Geise with Developing Palates. I'm here with Davidoff Cigars, Henke Kelner and Klaas Kelner. How is everyone doing today?
Fine. Yeah, I smoke cigars. I love cigar. I love the life. This is the best moment.
It's a great moment. When you were working on creating a blend, when do you know that you have created the final product? What do you look for, or what do you discover?
Normal, especially in the past, we create a blend according with my ideas, no, an idea, but all under one concept. It's a complete stimulation. That means every area of your taste are stimulated. Balance, no one area more than others, and positive taste. Positive taste. That is the concept. Complete. I need to use different tobacco. Some tobacco have capacity for stimulate one area. Another tobacco have capacity for stimulate another area. And the balance depends on the level of strength you like. What is the balance in all the area? Some cigars have a little more in the bitter area because they're more strong. People like it more strong. Or some cigar is a real complete balance, not too strong, but a lot of taste. And for many, many years, maybe the first 14, 18 years, I don't use too much different tobacco. And we've made a lot of blend. Why? Different soils, different position, different crop. You have many, many options. Today we have more and more options, more and more tobacco. But the two, to follow the idea of the marketing is a little more difficult. Yeah. You need to understand what he liked with the new cigars, no? And we try to follow the idea and create some stimulation according with the idea. For example, the Scurio, very difficult to follow the idea of the marketing, to create a big night in Rio de Janeiro, no? Spicy, very interesting and different cigars, no? A special cigar, good to smoke when you drink. When you drink, spicy, because you drink, reduce spicy. It's very interesting. And we make a different blend. Finally, in Switzerland, today, decide what of the blend that we prepare, they prefer. But something interesting is the Winston Churchill, no? And the Winston Churchill, we make a cigars, not too strong, but a lot of flavor. For light cigars. We send the blend and they decide. But they forget the Toro size. And USA say, hey, what happened? We need a Toro. And at that moment, we don't have time for receiving the accept of Switzerland. And we put a little more strong, the Toro. The Toro for USA is the only tobacco that have some strong tobacco in the blend. And the Winston Churchill white label, that's it, Winston Churchill.
Yeah, the original.
The original. All our cigars have that characteristic. Consistent, balanced, positive. You like it or you don't like it, it's your problem.
So the Winston Churchill Toro is kind of your Winston Churchill that just got released to the market, and that's yours.
Yes, because they forget the size, that the format. We had the opportunity to make a cigar. I don't need to send sample to Switzerland.
Regarding tobacco, Camacho obviously uses Honduran tobacco. Davidoff has expanded in using Brazilian and Nicaraguan tobacco. Do you ever see a Davidoff with Honduran tobacco in the blend? What do you think that looks like? Or is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Really, we use it for many, many years, tobacco from Honduras and Davidoff 2000. No?
Davidoff 2000.
Davidoff 2000, we make Olancho tobacco.
It's not the original blend.
Not the original blend, but Olancho tobacco. We was the first person that go to that field of Neto Plasencia. And we decided to buy some tobacco. But that farm have some special characteristics. They have a small river that divide the farm. But one part of the farm, I like it. Reddish, pH lower, more taste. And Nestor is my friend, I say, Nestor, my tobacco from Olancho is for that side, only for that side of the field. The other part, no, I don't have interest in. And we have some special Olancho for it's a tobacco good for blending.
So actually, for you guys, the binder of 2000, of Davidoff 2000, has some Olancho. That's not the original blend. Why I say original blend is because over time we acquire different tobaccos, and the goal is that you maintain exactly the same stimulation. So our previous binder that we were using on Davidoff 2000 has the very similar stimulations to the one that we're using sometimes, like Olancho. And it's all about the goal of rebalancing the blend so it's exactly consistent. So it doesn't matter if the tobaccos are a little different inside the blend, as long as it tastes exactly the same. So we have used Honduran tobacco for a long time, not only in Davidoff, but also in other brands. And again, it's not something that it's always a little bit, but always the blend maintains predominantly the original blend, predominantly Dominican in most cases, with the white label, Davidoff.
Before the boom time, the market was different. It's a small market, 90,000, 100 million cigars, no more. And the consumer is a very established, conservative people, and he likes the cigar, the normal he smoke. And the boom come, many tobacco, many cigar and many different tobacco. And after the boom, the market changed. The market multiplied by 3, finally. And during the boom, 5 times. 5 times, no? And it's a new smoker. A smoker that likes to taste different experience. And all the company need to move in that direction, to offer a different type of tobacco from the market. Because the first 14 years in the market, we are very, very established with not too much tobacco, different tobacco. 85% of the tobacco, filler and binder, was Dominican at that time.
How much percentage do you think we're using?
Now,
Yeah, now.
60%.
60%.
So Dominican's probably 60%. Yeah.
Well, now we have
But
introduced
no,
more brands.
Davidoff is more.
Yeah.
It's the whole, including Abo, Griffin, and many other.
How important is the wrapper to you in a blend? Would you rather have more influence in the cigar from the wrapper, or would you rather have more influence from a complex filler blend or a larger cigar?
The influence of the wrapper depends on 3 factors. First, the ring gauge. Small ring gauge, more influence of the wrapper. Second, how strong is the fillet? If the fillet is light, the wrapper has more influence. And the third factor is the wrapper. What type of wrapper is? Is Habano wrapper for top leaf or have more influence than wrapper from Connecticut, low position. It's a very important in the blend. They're complementary of the blend. It's a complementary of the blend. You can note today with 702 series. Yeah. It's exactly the same filler, the same binder. The only difference is the wrapper. When you smoke, you know the difference. Only the difference is the wrapper. But it's important. The wrapper is important. And when you decide to make a strong tobacco, use a strong C or high position of the leaf. And the plant, the top leaf, is 3 times more strong than the bottom leaf. You decide what is the level of this cigar, depending on the blend that you use.
So when you're beginning, like the blending, do you ever find like tobacco where you say, yes, this is what I want to work with and I want to use this as a wrapper? Or do you sometimes just find the tobacco and you say, it's not pretty, it can be in the filler? Is it change, or you usually have a direction when you begin?
Of course, wrapper. When you have a farm for wrapper, like Yamasa, for example, you have a very, very good crop. Maybe you have 50% wrapper. The rest they have the condition of the wrapper. And that 50%, when we made the selection of the wrapper, reduced more, especially for Davidoff. We decided wrapper. What is the influence of the wrapper? Is it too important or less important in this blend? You have in your mind and for experience that with some wrapper, you don't need to use some type of tobacco. For example, Yamasa. Yamasa has some spicy in your tongue, and that spicy have contact with the salty area. There's no real salty wrapper, but make some stimulation of the salty area. Then you know that with Yamasa, you don't need to use all cigar tobacco. They have salty stimulation because maybe it's too salt. And salt is good in the food and the cigars because reinforce all the taste. But too much salt damages the food and damages the cigars. And you say, with that wrapper, I don't use that. Because they have, some wrapper have some stimulation in the acid area. But it's spicy in the center of your tongue, like Negro San Andrés, de Mexico. Then you don't need to use too much tobacco that have acid stimulation, because that wrapper gives up. You need to use it, of course, because acid is very important to maintain wet your mouth, because it stimulates the salivar gland to produce saliva. But say, with that tobacco, I don't use the traditional tobacco that I use it for that. I use it less percent.
What's also interesting is, like, for us, Yamasa is very particular and is a very special case. Because in Yamasa, we are going to that region with, how he mentioned, with the idea of having a farm for wrapper. What some people don't realize sometimes is that you don't have a wrapper farm. You have a farm that you invest a lot of money and a lot of time, a lot of technical knowledge into it to try to get a high percentage of yield of wrapper. In the best case scenario, I mean, you're getting 50%. Some farms don't get more than 30%. And we're very lucky that Yamasa, we get 60 sometimes, 60%. But what happens with the rest? You can't just throw it away. So you sort it, and it becomes binder, and it becomes filler. And then you can use it in filler and in binder for other blends. Like Chef's Edition that contains Yamasa inside. What's also interesting is that because that farm is specifically for Davidoff, and you have to buy the whole crop and sell it to Davidoff, right? Or Davidoff purchases the whole crop. They have to purchase the good and the bad. So they purchase the wrapper, the binder, the filler, and whatever else. In other cases, like Connecticut from Ecuador, which basically all the white label of Davidoff, all the classics have a Connecticut seed from Ecuador, we don't purchase the whole crop. We actually go in and we sort and we pick leaf by leaf which leaves we want to buy. And we say, okay, we're going into a third party that works with us, and we're going to buy that wrapper, and we're going to hopefully get 90% yield is going to be perfect quality to go to Davidoff. And that way, you're going in with a mentality that I'm going to go to this supplier, to this grower, and I'm going to buy this for this cigar. Where with Yamasa, you're growing, and then you're going to see what you get out of it. Yeah. So it's two completely different ways of looking at what future cigars you can roll. So you can go to a supplier who hopefully works really well, and then we can do the processes on our side and make a specific blend with that tobacco in mind. Or we can farm in 15 different regions in the Dominican Republic, buy all the crop, and then we have all this tobacco to play around with. And that's all in our inventory, and it allows us to be very creative. It's an investment for the future, exactly.
Is there a tobacco priming that speaks to you? Is there like a sweet spot with the tobacco primings in which, and it may change from seed to seed, but is there a sweet priming spot that just speaks to your palate?
We name Visus. Visus is suppose that the eggplant has 16 leaves. That is the leaf 12, 13, 14, 9, 10, 11, 12. That. Why? Because that leaf has the better balance in carbohydrate and nitrous element. Top leaf have less carbohydrate, more nitrous element, and bottom leaf have less nitrous element, more carbohydrate. The best balance is in the Visus area. Some cigars, sometimes I make only with Visus. And this is the tobacco, the better balance for stimulation of the cigar.
What's also really cool is that, like he said, it's 16 different leaves, right? I mean, from the bottom to the top. You could even put it into 8 different primings, 2 leaves, 2 leaves, 2 leaves, 2 leaves, right? Most for easier convenience, you kind of just sort it into 4, and then you go into it deeper. But you got to look that the top leaves are going to be much thicker, have a lot more oils, right? And sometimes they're too powerful. The bottom leaves, they're the ones that are the thinnest, the ones that have the nitrogenous elements inside the leaf. And also, they're the ones that get kicked around. And they're the ones that get dust on them and everything. Even when you're sorting for wrapper happens mainly in the middle primings. The bottom leaves get discarded, and then the top leaves end up being too thick. Appearance in the middle, healthier, stronger leaves, more balanced leaf, more elastic leaves. Then when you get all the way to the top, yeah, they're bigger. So good for wrapper. But also, when you get all the way to the top, they end up being too thick. So the higher primings end up being binder maybe, because they're too thick, the veins are too pronounced. And that's what happens when you're sorting. Normally, the prime is right in the middle. And Visus is, like my dad was saying, is pretty even. Not too strong, not too soft. Yeah, so higher primings tend to be binders, also in the middle, but it's because they are thicker. They can hold in that cigar, and then you can turn it around it, and it's not going to break. It's going to hold. You can do the Lieberman machine on it, and it's going to be a lot more resistant. Is there a priming that speaks to me? I would have to... It's like he said. For me, my favorite, everybody's probably favorite is right down somewhere in the middle. But I love when I see like a very thin, shiny wrapper from like the second or third priming. Because I'm impressed. I'm like, oh, this is elastic. It's from the bottom and it's still not breaking. It has the shine. And it's so thin, no veins. It looks pristine, so it looks like silk. When you get a little higher, they end up being a little thicker.
Sometimes you use the top leaf and you make it for Maduro, very dark tobacco. But you need to make more fermentation process to reduce all the harsh element, all the nicotine, all the nitrous element, more prolonged fermentation, And then you have a dark leaf for Maduro.
Yeah.
For Maduro.
You're speaking of Maduro, Davidoff Maduro, which was a favorite. It's a fantastic cigar. It was one of my favorites. I don't think it never got the attention that I thought it deserved. Whenever I introduced it to people who never smoked it, they were shocked. They're like, "Wow," and they loved it, and then it went away. Do you think it's ever going to come back, or would you want to come back?
I think not for the moment come back, because when we use the series 702, a 702 is dark. Maybe it's not too dark like typical Maduro in USA, but it's a Maduro mean color, dark color. And the history of the first history of Davidoff Maduro, that was 50 years ago, more or less, or more, when some people in Switzerland decide to make some Davidoff Maduro. But I don't agree, because in that time, the more than it's 20 years old, it's not the typical Davidoff style in that time.
Yes.
And I wait for the Dr. Snyder, the owner, to come. I put in my desk some Davidoff Maduro. I asked to Dr. Snyder, Dr. Snyder, what do you mean about that? This is a Davidoff. He said, never is a Davidoff. But we didn't use it. we didn't use it later. Sometimes we take too much time to introduce some tobacco. The Nicaragua history. The normal Nicaragua Davidoff. And what happened with that? In 2003, I have a meeting in Switzerland with the sales people, with Dr. Snyder. And the sales people say, Davidoff is too perfect. They don't create emotion. Imagine the Grand Cru number 3 and 2000, it look exactly the same. I need to change something, because, and that means they decide to, I look for a wrapper, no dark wrapper, different to the Connecticut. I suppose that is a decision. And buy a container of Nicaragua Rosado from Néstor Plasencia. But never happened. They never changed the wrapper of Grand Cru. And that container, we have an inventory for 10 years. When he decide to make the Davidoff Nicaragua, I say, I have 10 years aging, 10-year aging tobacco from Nicaragua. He say, why? Yes, I have a container, but take care. It's only for 1 million cigars, no more. We need to buy more, and that is the issue, because we say Davidoff Nicaragua wrapper for 10 years. Was an accident, but finally I can use it in my inventory. No?
You recently created a blend with Florida sun-grown tobacco that Jeff Borshowitz is growing. What was it like working with the tobacco, and would you ever want to use it again in another blend, whether on a wrapper or binder or filler?
Well, use that for creative cigar for Jeff, only for Jeff. The history of tobacco from Florida. Really, Georgia and Florida too. They grow in that in the south of Georgia and north of Florida. That tobacco, the idea was for make a wrapper for compete with Connecticut. That was the idea. But the quality of the wrapper of Florida never have the level of Connecticut. They use Sumatra C, The tobacco was light, a little green color. But Jeff have an effort for create a tobacco with quality. They maintain the Sumatra, but they create a cigar that for filler or binder have a good quality. Of course, use a very small proportion in the blend. First, for the quantity. Second, we don't like to make a blend too different to our line. Yeah. But the cigar have that tobacco. And blending some way for make a cigar that is a good cigar. But I don't believe that we create a cigars only for Jeff. It's some personal project of Jeff. Maybe Jeff made something different than 50 years ago and create a tobacco that you can use in premium cigar.
There was a lot of companies in the Dominican Republic that used Cameroon wrapper on their cigars for a period of time. Has Davidoff ever worked with Cameroon tobacco? And if so, what was your experience like in working with the tobacco?
We never used Cameroon in Davidoff. We used Cameroon, let me say, in 1986, 1987, before Davidoff gone to the Dominican Republic. And that time, the Cameroon wrapper was a real good wrapper. I say the queen of the wrapper in that time was Cameroon. But later, the Cameroon wrapper, the quality go down. And we don't continue to use the Cameroon wrapper. No, not for Davidoff, for other cigars. But now, in the last years, the wrapper of Cameroon improved the quality. I taste the new Cameroon. For me, it's not, I don't remember exactly the taste. Exactly the taste of the Cameroon 30 years ago. But you can use it. The cost is a high cost. But many companies in Dominican Republic maintain Cameroon for year by year. Fuente, Manolo Quesada, one time, I know they continue. Remember, the Consolidate today, Altadis, use Cameroon. H. Uman. And that time, remember? And the 80 Cameroon. But when the quality come down, they change the wrapper. And move for Indonesia. But some special tobaccos in Indonesia. Shade grown. What's the name? TBN. TBN mean tobacco on the shade, something like that. But who knows? In the future, people like to use the Cameroon. But now there are many different wrappers in the market. And that time you have only two. Good wrappers: Connecticut from Connecticut, Cameroon from Cameroon. Today you have many different options. And not too expensive, except the Connecticut. Connecticut, Ecuador is expensive, but the yield is good. The yield is good. When you think about them, Connecticut, Ecuador costs $50 per pound, for example. They are $55 too. But that is a tobacco that have a very good yield. And Habano cigar, Habano tobacco, maybe it's $22. But finally, for the yield, different yield, maybe 50% of the yield of the Connecticut.
Yeah.
And you need to use more pound because it's more heavy tobacco
Yeah.
per 1,000 cigars, and the end you have more or less the same cost, and high quality, of course, and high quality. You use the quality that I'm using for Davidoff, the cost is per 1,000 cigar is less.
In your opinion, what vitola delivers the best smoking experience? Maybe it changes from blend to blend, but what vitola do you think delivers that perfect smoking experience, maybe the balance that you look for in a cigar?
Well, that depends on the smoker. For me, good cigar, I say, a cigar is a friend. A good friend is loyalty, consistent, balanced, and positive. It's your friend, the good friend. And the cigar is the same. Consistent, very important, because before you light your cigar, you know what experience you have with that cigar, because the cigar is consistent like Davidoff. And it's very important because it's like a good restaurant. When you come to a restaurant, you know what you eat this tonight, and before you eat, you know what received for that food, and for that reason, consistency is the most important. Of course, positive, but in the relation of cigars and friend, that is the most important. But the friend and the cigar have some exigencia. There's some demand.
Yeah.
You need to take care, put attention to the frame of the cigar, to continue to relation with that. And you need to try to maintain in good condition the cigars and your friend, because that is a good relation with the cigars and the friend. The cigar gives you the pleasure, and you need to put attention to the cigar. It's a deal between the cigars. Robusto. Today, Robusto. Before I sometimes smoke Toro, but today my size cigar is Robusto. And when I work in my office, I prefer the Petit Churchill or Yamasa. It's a 48 by 4, something like that. Why? Because I can put the attention of the cigar. It's a bigger, maybe I forget to put the attention of the cigar. And that is no good deal for the good friend.
For us, Robusto Toro are definitely the top sellers nowadays. I always love when my dad says, I started a company, Tabadom, in 84. Davidoff didn't come till 1990. That's when we started producing Davidoff in Dominican Republic with my father. And he says, before Davidoff, the biggest cigar I was making was a 48 ring gauge. Yeah, and the biggest cigar I ever made in 1991. And it was a game changer. It was different. It was big, Robusto. The Davidoff Special R, a 50 ring gauge. So the market has definitely changed a lot. And you have to adapt to the market. But what we also find is that when we're making cigars, not only does 50 ring gauge and above allows you to play around with more types of tobacco, because back then blends were simpler. It was 2 tobaccos in the filler, binder wrapper. It was 4 tobaccos. Sometimes there were just 1 filler. The market wasn't as developed. Nobody had this in mind as to be as complex. Now you're seeing 5 tobaccos in cigars and above. So a bigger ring gauge lets you play easier with more tobaccos and make a more complex blend. And then the other thing is very thin and long ring gauges like Lancero is very hard to maintain a consistent, good burn, because the way you pack it, and it's so long that the cigar roller, putting it in his hand, might pack it a little too tight here, and it might not be as even. So you find a lot of Lanceros in the market not burning as consistently or turning off on you. So it is very hard to create these cigars and make sure that they're always perfect. Of course, how do you fix this? With quality control. You do quality control and make sure that no bad ones go out into the market. And you discard all the ones that are rejected, which in smaller, longer shapes, you tend to find more rejections. But you have to be very careful with those long, smaller shapes because you might have a little issue with quality. But that's why also Lancero is not even that big in the market. You know, everybody raves Lanceros, Longsdales, these smaller ring gauges that are long, but they are harder to make.
Sometimes I make some exception. I remember 25 years ago, I take anniversary number 1. 31 of December, 11 o'clock, I take anniversary number 1 for the only reason that I like to receive the new year with the same cigar of the last year. That I remember that, but maybe it's 1 or 2 times in my life I smoke anniversary number 1. Yeah, but that's the reason. I like to receive the new year with the same cigar of the last year. Anniversary number 1 is no more. We don't not produce more than anniversary number 1. For me, it's a mistake. Why? Because sale not too much cigars. Only 7,000, 8,000 in the year. But for me, it's a mistake because it's emblematic cigars. I have a history. We were in Chicago, close to Chicago, northern Chicago. A guy, a young guy, come to the store and buy 1 anniversary number 1, a wood tube of wood. I asked him, why you buy that cigars? And he said, my grandfather smoked cigars. My father smoked cigars. I like. Then my first cigars is a Davidoff anniversary number 1 because today I have 80 years old. I can smoke and maybe that guy never buy again, but he never forget that his first cigar was anniversary number 1 of Davidoff. Yeah. That I told that emblematic cigars. It's an emblematic cigar. You remember for whole your life.
We were in the store and we were seeing this guy just peruse around the humidor, and then he just chose it, and we followed him to the counter to ask him. So he will never forget that experience. And today we have, actually my dad signed the tube for him, which was really nice. It was an 18th birthday. Now we have other emblematic cigars. We still keep the double R. You know, these are bigger ring gauge cigars. We have really emblematic cigars. It's sad to see the number 1 leave. But you know what's interesting about that story? 1 year later, the law changed in Chicago, and now you got to be 21 to buy it. So the guy now has to wait 2 more years before he can buy a cigar in Chicago. So that was such a shame. But, you know, move to another state. I don't know. Buy another Davidoff number 1, another shop.
You know, we launched the Davidoff in New York, November 1990. Come Dr. Snyder, Sino Davidoff, La Baronesa Felicia Rothschild, and they show that they offer the cigars. 1 anniversary number 1, the cost was $18 at that time. And that time, cigar for $3 is the high price cigars at that time. One person say, Davidoff never sell cigars at that price in USA. But Diana Silva, the owner of Up Down Tobacco Show, take one and smoke that and say, that is our business need, a cigar for $80. That I need it. That was right. She was right. Because for that moment, the price of cigars increased. Yeah. Before that, all the company, is afraid to increase 10 cents the cigars. I say Davidoff make something special for the market of USA to offer cigar at that price.
Davidoff makes us something special. And this goes to my question, not just for USA, but for the entire world. I mean, Davidoff is a global brand. So when you create a blend, what is it like to work on creating a blend where you're not just saying, this is kind of where the American market's going, but this is the American market, the European market, the Asian market. How do you take that approach in doing so?
Our cigars is the same for any country. It's the same cigars. And that's very important. Why? Because suppose you fly to China. You don't have friends in China. You feel alone in China. You go to the store, and you find your friend in the store. The same friend that you have in USA, you have in China. And that is a very important concept of that. When Davidoff changed to China, to Cuba, to Dominican Republic, Dr. Snyder have a marketing decision. I like a cigar totally different to the Cuban cigars. I don't like to compare our cigar with Cuba. And that was more light cigar, not too strong cigar. But what that was the idea. One line, the Grand Cru line, in Cuba was the Chateau line. The Chateau Latour, Chateau Lafite, Chateau Margaux. But we can use that name and change for Grand Cru. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. The 5. I create a blend inspired in the Bordeaux wine. Yeah. I say Bordeaux wine because the Chateau come from Bordeaux. From Bordeaux. Chateau wine is a blend of 3 grapes, normal. Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Cabernet Franc. And I decide Piloto, the stronger is Cabernet in the blend. Merlot is San Vicente, more long. And Olor is a Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc is only 12% of the crop and use a small quantity of Olor. And Merlot is a San Vicente. And that gives me the idea to make the tasting of the cigars for the people know the different stimulation of these three tobacco. Work in the same way of the grape of Bordeaux. That was the history of Grand Cru.
I mean, that's a great story, the Grand Cru story. It's great how we can take concepts from other different industries and apply them to the cigar industry. But just to expand on your question, my dad very specifically said, all of our cigars are the same no matter where you find them. It's about consistency. Your question pertains a lot to limited editions. So we do limited editions for different markets, Aniversario, any line connects with the whole world. We do find that some lines sell better in some markets. We expect some markets to like different cigars better than others. That's completely normal. And back to the whole consistency thing issue is, if you don't like one of our cigars, we don't really care. Because we make so many cigars of so many varieties, of so many different flavor profiles, that you're bound to like one of them. And no matter where you find it, the one that you like will always be loyal to you. So that's the concept that Davidoff follows. You create many different profiles, a wider range of different tobaccos, so that you can always find something that you like in our family of Davidoff.
There are some that believe Davidoff produces one of the better Nicaraguan puros in Davidoff, Nicaragua. It's manufactured in the DR, and it was blended and created by individuals in the DR who work mostly with Dominican tobacco. How did you go about approaching that cigar and blending it? What did you want to accomplish?
You know, before I make the Nicaragua, I have experience to use a tobacco from Nicaragua. I'm a very close friend to Nestor Plasencia. And in Nicaragua, we try to create a blend, a complete stimulation. For that, I use a Esteli, a stronger lineal stimulation. Jalapa is more noble, not too strong. Condega have some special stimulation, some wooden taste. And what I need, in addition, I need some cigars that give me some special stimulation in the acid area and some spicy. And we use the tobacco from the island Ometepe. I visited Ometepe when Nestor started. Another issue was I know that tobacco from Ometepe, the best, the more open structure and more oily was the tobacco that they planted in December. I say, Nestor, I don't buy too much, but I like the tobacco is from that crop. That planting in, and create a blend. But in addition to that, is we buy the tobacco, but we finish the tobacco in Dominican Republic. We make another special process and selection leaf by leaf, to create that, the balance and the positive, because we are in our process, we are very strict in quality, and we make a double classification. First, when I receive the tobacco to the farm, and later, before the stripping process, we make a selection leaf by leaf to make sure that the tobacco is in that position in the plant. Because you know, the people make mistake in the crop and take leaf that is not in perfect condition, or mix some leaf with one position with another position, and I need to make exactly the blend. And that is the reason that our Nicaragua always is the same. Always is the same. It's a question of quality control.
Thank you so much for the time. I think you're one of the companies that talks about balance more than anybody other company I hear of, and it's so important. So I appreciate you guys talking about that, because I look at that in a cigar. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you all.